Hello, everybody. It's James here. It is time that we start taking your files for your web pages that you're making and learn how to upload those and turn it into a live website. So this is kind of an exciting class that you're going to be entering into because now you're going to get some of the sort of the behind the scenes of how do you actually make a website into a live active website. For us, we're going to actually use a tool to transfer files. And the tool that we're going to use for now, which may change, I've had a little quirks with it this past fall, is cyberduck.io. And Cyberduck, all it really is a file transfer application. And so we actually get that right here with FTP. It's a file transfer protocol. Some other people out in industry, they might use something like certainly in an office, they might have something set up like GitHub to be able to manage projects and stuff like that. But for us, if we have a simple FTP server, we can ship things up to the host Papa directories, and then we could type in the subdomain and be able to see the website anytime we want. Cyberduck works for Windows and it works for Mac. So what you would want to do when you get to their website is just download. It is free software and it'll occasionally ask for donations, but we will ignore those. I've never actually paid for a donation. So the donations do go towards development of the application, but I've just never gotten around to responding to their asks or their queries. So you go and grab either one, the exe for Windows or the zip for Mac OS. And once it's installed, find it in your applications and start it up. And so Cyberduck occasionally will start up and it'll start asking you for things like get a registration key. Ignore that. It'll ask you for, do you love Cyberduck? Do you want to donate to it? It would be nice, but you're students. So you're going to use it for free for now and just, hit the later button or ignore button or whatever you need to do to get to this point here. So Cyberduck, when you start out, not a lot of information right off the bat here. And so we'll leave that open for a second while we take a look at the other side of things, which are literally on the other side of my screen. And what this is sort of the back side of Host Papa's website. So the control panel that we work on. So you go and you buy a domain name. With that domain name, you actually have to have some web hosting, and there's various server or services out there. Things like you probably heard of GoDaddy because they put piles of money into advertising and stuff like that. I've used Host Papa successfully for quite a few years now. There's a few things I like about them. They will give you your domain with the service. They will, provide decent, reliable hosting. And then they try to get into things like some sustainability issues and trying to provide, power some of the servers and stuff like that from green energy. And so, they outwardly appear to be an altruistic kind of hosting company. They also then have some pretty good deals once in a while. So for about 3 years of service, I paid about $80, I believe, with a lot of space and stuff like that. So I don't mind Host Papa at all. They've been pretty good. So when you log into Host Papa, if you're running a website, I run it for you for this class. But if you're ever to go and pick up hosting, you would get something like this, and this is your control panel or way of controlling what's going on with your website. Now, there's a ton of stuff in here, and it's reasonably user friendly, but I don't use most of it really. I use some of the file management. I create some domains and subdomains, and occasionally I'll do the WordPress installs and stuff like that. But I really don't spend a lot of time in this control panel here. I just thought I would show it to you. So even in the control panel, you can do things like this is where I've created your subdomains. So I just basically created folders or directories on their hosting service, so that you have now a sandbox. So there's like jen.provoke.digital. Who else do we have here? Beth.provoke.digital. Everybody should be in here. If you're not, let me know. And then what that actually is a login to this domain or directory right here. So for example, for Beth, if you log into it, you'll see the CGI bin. CGI bins we just leave alone. But it looks a lot like, working through Windows or Mac in their folder structure as well. It's just now this is on a totally different computer. So let's take a look at, and I'll leave this one here up as we work through it. We're going to head back to the left-hand side. How do we actually connect to these folders that are on a server elsewhere? I don't know where it is, Ontario or something like that. So in Cyberduck, we can actually go open connection. And then this is the part you probably want to write down, because if you're like me, you'll try and set up like save it or memorize it or whatever by the computer. But if you forget this kind of stuff, it gets kind of painful for us, and you're gonna have to plug it in, I believe, pretty much every time anyway. So there's three important pieces of information that we need to worry about to start out with. And so in looking at that, the first part of it is going to be, what is your subdomain? So the server for us is going to be the subdomain. I'm going to use mine that I set up here, and it's this jwk.provoke.digital. So when I plug in for my server, I go jwk.provoke.digital, and I double check that I typed it correct. Make sure as best I can that I'm doing this right to start with, because there's nothing worse than like, why is it not connecting? And you realize that, oh yeah, okay, I missed that. So misspelled, two characters flipped or something like that. So in Blackboard, I've actually got under week 6, Tuesday, you can actually see what your subdomains are. And it's this first part, well, actually this last part of it. So for Beth, it would be beth.provoke.digital. Lauren would be lauren.provoke.digital. Tiana, trouble.provoke.digital. That's the part you put. So before everything sort of after the @ symbol is what we're going to use as the server. The next part is the username, and the usernames, sorry, not as friendly as I've done in the past. They're a little bit longer and clunkier than normal, but let's go take a look at it here. So mine's actually going to be, I'm going to go find my user manager. That's the one that we were just looking at with the @ symbol in it, or the email address styled setup. So under my user manager, I'm going to just jot this down. And this is something, yeah, you definitely want to write this down somewhere where you know you're going to be able to find it later on, because it gets a little bit long here. So for mine, I set it up and tied it to this James Tiago at jwk.provoke.digital. And I plug that in, and then I could type in my password. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe. I don't know what it is. And then all you do is hit connect at this point. So I'm going to hit connect. On the right side, I'm just going to go and take a look at my folder structure here. And I'm going to go inside this folder. Now this on the right-hand side is something you don't have to see and wouldn't see typically. Typically, you don't see this. I'm just showing it because this on the right-hand side is the computer in some other location on a server for host Papa. This on the left-hand side is us connecting to it. So I'm going to just hit continue when it says the FTP warning. Do you want to continue with this? It's an unsecured connection. And if you have a successful connection, it should connect within a minute or so. You should pop up and be able to see exactly what is in this folder directory for provoke.jwk provoke digital is over here on the right hand side. So if I actually went and wanted to do some file management, for example, I could go and manage these files like I was operating on my own computer. So if I hit delete, I can right click and delete. I can delete that file. So over on the right hand side on the servers, what happens if I reload that? You can see that file is gone. If I want to upload a file, I do that through the Cyberduck, and I right click and I can go to upload. You can also drag and drop files and stuff like that as well. When you go to upload, basically what you do is you go find your website. So for this one, just need to go and locate my baking website. And so this website we need to talk about. Went the wrong way. Okay, so what I'm looking at here, this is my recipe website, and I'm going to go inside that main recipe folder. And what we talked about previously was that every time you make a website, the first file it needs to find when you put it on the server is index.htm. What are some other rules about putting stuff up to a server? Well, let's take a look at things like the images. Images should be short in file name, descriptive, no spaces, and all lowercase, no weird characters. And the only way you can put in a space is with a dash or an underline. That's it. So that's another rule that we've got there. We've also got a little bit of structure. So we were talking about the folders that we were creating for the website on our computer to maintain that structure when we send it to the server, so that we're not losing our relative links or things like that. And so I'm going to go to find that again. Okay, so if I want this website to be active, as soon as I type in jwk.provoke.digital, if I want that website to actually be seen, I'm going to need to bring along all the necessary files. Some of the unnecessary files would be, for example, in resources folders, so like working files, client files, things like that. Anything zipped is not going to be of any use for us, but I'm just going to do a shift click and get the range of the CSS document, which is inside the CSS folder or directory, HTML for any additional pages, media for any images or videos or sound or anything like that, and then making sure I've got the index page. And if I go choose, that should spin for a second here, I believe. And it's going to say, well, we're going to transfer these up. And so it's going to start and it's going to say it's an unsecure connection. You could do a don't show again. We're not too worried about that connection in this case. And it's probably going to ask me a whole bunch. So I'm going to go don't show again and just hit continue. And then it's just going to spool through all of the different files and it's going to upload these to the server. Once it's done, we should see that it has been completed. And we can then close that out. And we can see these folders on our connected server. And we know we're still connected because in the top right corner is a disconnect button. I don't see them on the server itself right now, but if I hit reload, I can actually see that they've been uploaded. So what I should get right now is, cross your fingers, if I type in jwk.provoke.digital, we land on the website and there is a live active website. So that website is active for the public to view as such. And once we were done uploading files, my suggestion is don't upload files until you've kind of tested it on your own computer first. Once you've uploaded it to a server, I would definitely go through and test out all the links, particularly if it's a client. I would definitely do that type of thing. And I would check things out. Now, another thing that we can do that's going to make your life a little bit easier, especially for this semester, is because this is a subdomain for you to play and sandbox and add assignments and stuff like that to it. We kind of want to, segment out where our websites are going. And there's going to be times on assignments where I'll ask for a specific directory or folder to be made on your hosting and then upload there. And that's where I'm going to check for your grading for the work itself. So what I can actually do while I'm still connected to that host is I can go and create a new folder. If you hear it called directory, that's kind of common in web design. So for this new folder, same rules apply. Lowercase, no spaces, no weird characters, make it short, make it descriptive. So I'm going to call this week 06 recipe. And please, when I ask on assignments to make a specific folder name and put your website into that, that you kind of follow the best you can because it makes life so much easier. Consistency. So what I can do, just like I would on my own computer, I can actually take and move those files into that folder. And you can see there, they're now inside of that directory. If we take a look at the actual hosting service, there is this week 6 recipe. If I go to my main website again and I just reload that, you can see it's going to give me an error because I went jwk.provoke.digital. There are no index files on that main directory anymore. They're in this extra folder for us. So I can actually go / W06 recipe. You can see I don't have to type in the index.html, but when I hit enter, it's going to take me inside of that directory, and this is now the index page. All right. So is that it? I feel like that's it. The idea of open connection when you're dealing with the Cyberduck and getting connected here. This is going to be the subdomain that you've chosen. This is going to be the username that you'll find on Blackboard. And then the password for this should have been sent out by email to you. So you should have an email from like HostPapa, I believe, or from provoke.digital sent to you in your email. Check your junk mail. And it's going to kind of ask like, there was this account created. Do you want to make a password for it? Yes, please make your password for it for me. And then you can go and log in to the hosting through this. So that's it for this part of it. Now, this is a really important video because you're going to be doing this a whole bunch throughout the semester because you're going to be uploading stuff and making it live. You want to get comfortable with this process. Be sure to write down that information here. So I would even potentially like screen grab this or something like that, like get a photo with your phone or whatever, so you can remind yourself of what do you type into those 3 server username and password places. That's it for this video. Thanks very much.